Welcome back to my next playthrough series, this time Aeon's End once again, with the War Eternal standalone expansion thrown into the mix. So there's a bunch more variety, but we are going to be playing against the Carapace Queen, which is from the original Aeon's End game. And so I'm going to not go over any rules, because I've done that through my first playthrough, but I will show you the Carapace Queen's additional rules, and we're going to show you the two characters that I randomly chose, and then we're just going to get right into it. So let's take a look at the Carapace Queen. 60 hit points. Unleash, place 2 husks into play. There's a husk board here with some information of things you do when you have when the Carapace Queen swarms. So there's the swarm activities depending on how many husks are on there. I'm using little plastic crystals instead of the tokens, just easier for me to remove on the board, so that you know they don't come with the game. We're not doing the increased difficulty. Additional rules: each husk is a minion that has 1 life. When a husk is placed into play, place it in the next available space on the husk track. So we're going left to right, top to bottom, placing them in. When a player deals damage to a husk, the player may suffer 1 damage to distribute the damage dealt over multiple husks. So if you have a big spell that does, say, 4, 5, or 6 damage, you can take a damage yourself to get rid of 4, 5, or 6 husks instead of 1 at a time. If Carapace Queen has 15 husks in play, which means the husk board is completely full, and must place another husk into play, Gravehold suffers a damage instead. The way I read this is, if, say, she was going to place 3 husks and it's full, then Gravehold would take 3 damage. I think this should be 1 damage per husk. That's how I'm going to play it. I'm not sure if that's how it works, but that's how I'm going to have it work. And again, for setup, place the husk track next to this play mat. Place 2 husks on the first 2 spaces of the husk. So, and you can read the flavor text if you want. I'd need to get my glasses and spend too much time reading through it, but there it is if you want to pause it and give it a read. So we will be playing against the Carapace Queen. And I guess we should look at the husk track quickly. I'll take the 2 husks off. So when the Queen swarms, which will be part of her deck, I'm sure, if there are 0 to 3, place 4 husks into play. That's nasty. If there are 4 to 6 husks already, any player discards a prep spell, place 2 husks into play. When there's between 7 and 10 husks on the card, Gravehold suffers 5 damage when she swarms. If there's 11 to 12, the player with the lowest life suffers 3 damage, discard a husk. And if there's 13, 14, or 15 in here, and the Queen swarms, the players lose. So we have to keep the husks under control. Of course, Gravehold starting with 30 health, and the Carapace Queen 60. So those are the trackers for that. All right, we're going to take a quick look at our 2 characters, and then we're just going to have our first round of play. We'll quickly look at the cards we can buy. And I know I'm going over this at lightning speed, but that's because I've already done a playthrough, and I don't want to really spend too much time explaining things. I'm using, again, little blue crystals here for the charges instead of the tokens. Again, it's just easier for me to pick up and not mess with. I use dice for health as well. So player 1 is going to be Kadir, and she is from, I am not sure if she's from one of the original game expansions or from the original game. I apologize. And I'm using the new cards from War Eternal. So these are the new crystal cards. They're gaining 1 ether. And these are the new spark cards. Deal 1 damage. And her special card, she starts with Emerald Shard. Gain 1 ether, or any player gains a life. So we already have a player in the game that can gain a life. So that's Kadir's starting hand. And for her starting deck, she has 3 crystals and 2 sparks. All right, over to our second player. And our second player is going to be Mazda Hadron. Mazda Hadron? Well, however you say it. His special starting card is the World Heart Shard. Gain 1 ether, or gain 2 ether that can be used to gain a card. Place the next card you gain on top of any ally's discard pile. So basically, he can buy cards for Kadir, place them on her pile. So he gets 2 ether if he does that, or just 1 if he wants it for himself. Starts with 2 crystals, 2 sparks. Again, not going to go over the rules. We'll see them in action. Oh, and I should mention the charge ability. His is Unearth Mantra. Activate during your main phase. You may gain a gem that costs 4 ether or less from any supply pile, and then Gravehold gains 4 life. And the special ability for Kadir, which I forgot to mention, you could probably read it off of the video. Activate during any player's phase. Otherworldly Gate. The player may return up to 3 spells in their discard pile in their hand. That player may prep up to 2 spells to each of their open breaches this turn. So basically we can prep more than 1 spell to breaches now with the War Eternal standalone expansion. So that's kind of new from the original game. Alright, now we're going to take a quick look at all the cards we can buy. So there's 3 gems, 2 relics, 4 spells, and then we're just going to go with the first turn. Okay, so very quickly we're going to run down the random cards. And yes, I just randomly chose them, so there was no forethought at all. Just picked out 3 gems, 2 relics, 4 spells. So the first one we have Leeching Agate. We've already seen this one before. When you gain this, you gain 1 charge. It's worth 2 ether, costing 3 ether. This one is new for War Eternal. Volcanic Glass, costing 3. When you gain this on your turn, you may spend 2 ether. If you do, any ally also gains a volcanic glass and places it on top of their deck. And it's worth 2 ether. So it has a when you purchase ability. Another one from War Eternal, Frozen Magmite, costing 3, gain 2 ether. You may place the next card you gain this turn on top of your deck. Wow, that is pretty cool ability. Alright, the first relic, and the 3 cost, Conclave Scroll, gain 1 charge. If this card's supply pile is empty, you may discard the top part of any ally's discard pile. Destroy. So this is a good one for weeding out your weaker cards. And then we have 6 relic from War Eternal. I should mention, this is from War Eternal. Lots of War Eternal stuff came up randomly, but that's good because we're using this stuff from War Eternal. So Vortex Gauntlet. Cast any player's prepped spell. Return that spell to that player's hand. Very cool. Costing 6. And now into our 4 spells. Jagged Lightning, cast. Deal 3 damage. You may discard a card in hand. If you do, any player focuses their closed breach with the lowest focused cost. So that's pretty neat. Costing 4. Kindle from War Eternal as well. Costing 4. While prepped, during your main phase, you may also prep 1 spark to the breach. This spell is prepped too at casting deal 3 damage. So you can put a spark on top of Kindle. You're able to do 4 damage. Carbonize, costing 4. Cast, deal 3 damage. Reveal the top card of the turn order deck. You may place that card on the bottom of the turn order deck. Very cool for sort of manipulating turn order because it's a variable turn order game. And lastly, I believe for the spells, our 4th one is Feral Lightning spell. This is from the original game or an expansion. I apologize, I'm not sure. There's probably a indicator down here that I can't see without my glasses. But anyway, the spell may be prepped to a closed breach without focusing or opening it. Very cool. Deal 3 damage. So this can just be placed on any breach at all. And those are the cards we're going to be able to purchase. And so with all of that said, very rapidly, I'll put the 2 husks back on. We're going to come right back and we're going to do a first round. All right, first thing we do, turn order cards. So these have all been shuffled. There's 6 of them. There's 2 player 1, 2 player 2, and 2 Nemesis. And the first player is the Nemesis. And these are the original Aeon's End turn order cards. I like them better than War Eternal. So there is that. All right, so it's the Nemesis gets to go. Ouch. Well, first thing we do, of course, on the Nemesis turn, if you want to, I won't go over it, but you can stop it and take a look at that, is we're going to have to look at any cards that are in our play. Then we're going to draw a card, and then when exhausted, this is when we become exhausted as players. So there is that. All right, first thing we do, any cards in play? There are not. So that's not going to happen, but we are going to take the first Nemesis card off the built Nemesis deck, and it is Afflict. This looks like a War Eternal card. It's an attack. Unleash! Any player suffers 3 damage and may place a card in their discard pile into their hand. What a god-awful time to get this. Nobody has a discard pile, and one player has to suffer 3 damage. Wow! Painful. And an Unleash. Oh. All right, well, let's find out what Unleash means here. Unleash, place 2 husks into play. Well, there's 1 husk, 2 husks. Wow, that's not nice. But that's going to be the end of the Nemesis first turn. Now, there's, of course, only 2 Nemesis turns. Now, which one are we going to have lose 3 life? I think we're going to have, oh, does it matter? Let's have Mazda Hadron lose 3 life. He's going to go from 10 health down to 7, keeping in mind that we have that ether card, or crystal gem card from Kadir that can heal life points. So that's not too devastating at the moment. All right, we're going to come right back. We're going to keep going through our turn order deck till we do an entire round, and so we'll see who is up next. All right, turn order deck. Who gets to go next? Player 1. Player 1 is Kadir. So we're going to go down to Kadir's area over here, and we're going to have Kadir take her turn. All right, it's Kadir's turn. Player 1. She has a crystal, a crystal, a crystal. That's 3 ether, a spark, and she has the emerald shard. So what she's going to do, of course, the first thing on a player turn, again, we can take a quick look at this, is the casting phase. Well, there are no spells to cast because no spells are prepped. And then the main phase, you can play a gem or relic, gain a card, gain a charge, focus a breach, open a breach, prep a spell to a breach, resolve a wild prepped effect, resolve a 2 discard effect. And then at the end is the draw phase. So that was very quickly player's turn. And I think, oh man, well, we're going to prep the spark spell, obviously, to the 1 open breach. So there's that ready to go for next turn. And she's got 3 crystals to spend, or 4, but I think she's going to use her emerald shard. Any player gains a life. So she's going to play that, giving Mazda Hadron back a life. So he's going to go from 7 health up to 8. Because we don't want our characters to get exhausted. Leaving her 3 crystals to spend. And with her 3 crystals, oh man, what does she want to get? For 3, eh? I think she's going to go ahead and she'll start out with the leeching agate. So when you gain this, gain 1 charge. So she's going to get her first charge. Each charge costs 2 ether. And when she gets this card, eventually it will be worth 2 ether. That's the end of her turn. And she's going to put these back in any order. So she may as well put her emerald shard on top. And then these ones, 3 crystals on top of that one, because this deck will flip over. At the end of her turn, she draws up her 5 new cards. 2 sparks, 3 crystals will be her next hand for her next turn. All right, we're going to see who gets to go. And next. I apologize if I'm going too quickly, but now that I know the game a little bit better and not going over any rules, just sort of doing the turns, I think I can make things happen a little bit faster. And if you want a slower playthrough or more explanation, you can watch my first playthrough when I played against the Rageborn, because I explained things a lot more. Our next turn order card is Player 2. All right, well, that's Mazda Hadron. Gets to go. Let's go down to his area, and he'll take his turn. Okay, so here we have him and his cards. Of course, we've looked at these already. He can get 1 ether for this, or gain 2 that can be used to gain a card. Place the next card you gain on top of any ally's deck. So that would give him, say, 2, 3. He could get 4 ether to place on top of, buy a card, place it on top of Kadir's deck. I'm not sure. Do we want to do that? That might actually be pretty good. He has 2 sparks. Again, casting phase, there's nothing prepped yet. So he's going to play his spark to his open breach. Now the other thing he could do is spend 1, 2, 3 and open a second breach and then prep another. I think he's going to do that. I think he's going to spend 1, 2, 3 ether right now. It's 3 ether to open breach number 2. So he's just going to go ahead and have it opened. And then he's going to prep his second spark to this open breach. And that is very quickly his turn. And we get to put his played cards back in any order. So we'll put his World Heart Shard down first, then his 2 crystals. At the end of his turn, he draws up his cards. So his 5 cards, of course, spark, and 4 crystals. And apologize for the glare. I will see what I can do about that. So that's his turn. And up next, we're going to see once again the next player to go. Okay, let's find out who is going next. And it's going to be player 1 again. All right, we're going back to Kadir. We're going to see what she's going to do. All right, so to start with, it's the casting phase. She will cast the Spark spell, which is going to do 1 damage. She's going to take it and attack one of the husks. So we're going to take one of these off of the husk board, leaving only 3. So the first row is piled up. All right, that was the casting phase. Now it is time for her to play her cards. Well, she has 3 crystals and 2 sparks. I think she's going to do the very similar thing to what Mazda Hadron did. She's going to play the 3 crystals for 3 ether to open her second breach. At the top here it says 3 to open. She opens breach number 2. She's going to prep each of the spark spells into those open breaches. Got to keep those husks under control. I have a funny feeling things are going to get really nasty if we don't. All right, so end of her turn. She's played all the cards she can play. Put them in any order. She's going to put them on here. And now there's no shuffling, of course. This whole discard pile just flips over. And she gets to draw 5 cards for her next turn. At the end here, so these will be her 5 cards. And we sort of know what they are because we put them in the order we wanted. So she now has her Leeching Agate, her Emerald Shard again, and 3 crystals for her next turn, which of course will be in the next episode. Because as per the first playthrough, I will do an entire round per episode until the end. We either win or lose. All right, up next we're going to find out it's either going to be the Nemesis or player 2 again. All right, once more we have 2 cards left. Who is going to be? It's going to be the Nemesis. Well, that's not good. Nemesis has no cards in play. Actually, the discard, I'm going to put it under the deck so I have room to put other cards. The next thing we do in the Nemesis turn, of course, is we pull a Nemesis card and see what it has to say for itself. And we pull Endless Throng Attack. What? Carapace Queen swarms. Okay, well, the Carapace Queen is going to swarm. And so what do we do in a swarm? Well, this row is filled up with husks. So 0 to 3 husks. Place 4 husks into play. Ouch. That's what happens when the queen swarms. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. This track is filling up very quickly. So we've got to keep these things, I hope, under control, which could be tough. Carapace Queen might be a nasty one to play against. I don't know. Playing against her for the first time right here on my channel. And that basically ends the Nemesis turn, which is pretty quick. I like that we don't have any minions out there to hit, but we're going to have minions eventually out here, plus husks. Things could get pretty nasty. All right, last player. Of course, we know it's player 2, and so we're going to have Mazda Hadron go once more, and that will be the end of our introduction and episode 1. All right, it's casting time. He has 2 spark spells prepped. He will cast both of them, which then immediately go to the discard pile. That's going to remove 2 of the husks off of the thing, because we're going to attack 2 husks. Now, we could be attacking Carapace Queen herself, knocking her hit points down, but I think I want to try to keep at least a husk track under control. We don't want it to get too out of control, because then it's going to start really putting damage on Gravehold and our characters, and that would not be too good. All right, it's time for Ms. Hadron to play card. I might just call him Maz. I don't know. So he has a spark spell. He's going to prep it, of course, to one of his open breaches. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 crystals to spend on something. What does he want to do with his 4 crystals? I think, wow, lots of choices. I think he's going to get Carbonize, costing 4. Carbonize, deal 3 damage. It's pretty good. Reveal the top card of the turn order deck. You may place that card on the bottom of the turn order deck. So you get to mess with the turn order deck a little bit. Of course, when you purchase it, that's going to go on top of his discard pile. At the end of his turn, of course, he can put his cards in any order. Well, they're all the same. That's going to go there. His deck is going to flip over, because that's how that works in this game, and he gets to draw 5 new cards off the top. And he has Spark, Spark, Crystal, Crystal, and he has his World Heart Shard once again. And that's going to be the end of his turn, so I'm just going to zoom out. We're going to wrap up episode 1. All right, well, it's pretty early going here. Of course, our Nemesis was untouched. Gravehold untouched. Kadir, full health, sitting at 10, 2 prepped spark spells. Mazda Hadron is at 8 out of 10 health. He has 1 prepped spark spell. We have 5 husks up here in the board. And that's where things are going to sit. So yeah, I'll give this another shuffle. I'll probably pre-shuffle it as well at the start of the next episode, so you know that I'm not stacking the deck. But we'll redo that again when we start the next episode. So this is Aeon's End with War Eternal, the original Aeon's End, and the first two original expansions. One was called the Depths, and the other is called the Nameless. So everything's thrown into the mix here. We're playing against the Carapace Queen, so I don't know. Things seem to be going okay, but of course it's only the first round. So join me next time for the continuation. So thanks so much for your comments, your subscriptions, your likes. Very much appreciated. Join me next time for the continuation of Aeon's End, War Eternal, and everything else thrown in. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.